welcome to my video. I'm Nala Sapira Putri, and now I'm going to explore something interesting and useful, so make sure you stay with me until the end. Here I would like to explain about translation. More translations start from the definition and then translation process, translation method, and more. So keep watching. Guys, do you know what is the definition of translation? Many experts can explain about the definition of translation. One of them from Mona Baker. According to Mona Baker, translation is the process of transferring a written text from source language to target language. Translation should be natural, and the process of transferring meaning, the language not only same in written text, transfer the meaning, not change the meaning, and then consists of two languages. For example, in Bahasa Indonesia, dia si jantung hatiku, and same with she is my sweetheart. And in translation, have translation quality. First, accuracy, and the second is acceptability, and the last is readability. Next is translation competence. The first is language competence. The second is transfer competence. The third is knowledge competence, because translator must know with medical term and increase their vocabulary. And then the last is cultural competence. For example, in another culture, good night the same with goodbye. In Bahasa, good night is selamat malam. Next, I would like to explain about translation process. Translation process, according to Naida and Teber in their book, The Theory and Practices of Translation Purpose, that the translation process consists of three main stages. The first is analyzing. This means the understanding the meaning of source text in terms of grammar and context. The second is transfer. It means that transferring the meaning of source language to target language. The third is restructuring. It means that adapting the translated text to fit the norms and style of the target language. Next, another expert explained about translation process. According to Peter Newmark, in her book, A Textbook of Translation, the first is reading and analyzing source text, and the second is recognizing the cultural context and purpose of the text. The third is applying translation strategy, for example, literal or communicative translation, and the last is revising and editing of the translation. Okay, we move to language function, as stated by Jacobson, who stated that a theory of language is based on the theory of translation. Peter Newmark proposed that all translations are implicitly grounded in a theory of language. Therefore, in certain only ways, any translation is a practice in the field of applied linguistics. Peter Newmark believed that the most practical theory of language for translating is Bahler's functional theory, which Jacobson modified. And according to Bahler, language serves three primary purposes. The first is expressive, informative, and vocative function. Number one is expressive function. The core of the expressive function is the mind, the speaker, the writer, the originator of the utterance, and he used the utterance to express his feeling irrespective of any response for the purpose of translation. Peter Newmark thinks the characteristic of expressive, for example, poetry, literary work, and personal letters. Second is informative function. The core of informative function of language is external situation, the fact of a topic, reality outside language, including reported idea or theories, For the purpose translation, typical informative texts are concerned with any topic of knowledge, but texts about literary subject, as they often express value, judgment, are adapted to learn towards expressiveness, and the format of informative text is often standard as textbook, and then technical report, article, newspaper, scientific paper, and others. The last is vocative function. The vocative function aims to influence or direct the reader to perform a certain action. Example including advertisement, and then letters of instruction or use guide. In translating vocative text, the translator must adapt the text to the target culture to keep the message persuasive and effective. Okay, that's about language function. We move to another explanation. Next explanation about the unit of translation and discourse analysis. An explanation of the unit of translation and discourse analysis based on the book of Peter Newmark. So, what is the unit of translation? Peter Newmark explained that the unit of translation is the part of the text, including words, phrases, clauses, sentences, or even paragraphs, that the translator focuses on when translating. The simple explanation: when translating, we don't necessarily translate word by word. Sometimes larger units such as phrase or sentence are more suitable as they restate the meaning, the meaning, nuances, and context of the text. For example, he kicked the bucket last night. If translate word by word, he in bahasa dia laki-laki, kick menendang, and the bucket is ember, and last night in bahasa is selamat malam. Translation in bahasa Indonesia, dia menendang ember tadi malam. This is wrong because the sentence is actually an idiom meaning best way. So the unit of translation here is the whole idiomatic sentence, and the correct sentence is dia meninggal tadi pagi. So he kicked the bucket last night. This means that dia meninggal tadi malam. Do you know what is the discourse analysis? In the context of translation, discourse analysis is a way of understanding the text as a whole, how the parts of the text related to each other, and then how meaning is constructed from the beginning to the end of the text, and then how language structure affect meaning. The simple explanation: instead of just looking at individual sentence, we also need to look at the cohesion between sentences, the use of cohesion including conjunction, references, substitution, and the author's language style. For example, in the narrative text, we should pay attention to who is speaking, are there is translation, and then what is the emotion or tone the author's language. If not analyzed, the translator may lose the nuances and the translation may feel stilted or unnatural. So that's the explanation about the unit of translation and discourse analysis. Okay, next we move to another explanation. Okay, next we discuss about translation ideology. Translation ideology is one of the most important concepts in modern translation studies, especially when discussing the relationship between language, power, culture, and politics in the translation process. According to Mona Baker, in Translation and Conflict, she said that translators are narrative agents. They not only convey stories but also shape them. Ideology emerges when translators choose to censor or insert information and then change the narrative to suit specific cultural or political interest. Another expert, according to Theo Hermas, he views translation as an ideological and political practice. According to him, translation always takes place within a system, and that system has its own ideology. The choice of translator is influenced by social norms and then institutional power and cultural censorship. Okay, that's explanation about translation ideology. Okay, next we move to the last material is translation method. As we discussed the last material about translation method, according to Peter Newmark, translation method refers to the approach or method used in the process of translating a text from source text to target language. And in his book, A Textbook of Translation, Peter Newmark classified translation method into two main stages based on their main focus. The first is search language or oriented method, is emphasized. Okay, the first is search language or oriented method. This method reveals the original structure, form, and meaning of the source language. The first is word by word translation. It means that translate word for word in the original or very literally. And the second is literally translation faithful, and the grammatical structure is changed to fit the target language, but the words are still translated literally and maintains the meaning of the text and the original author's intention, even though it sometimes feels tilted in the target language. And the last is translation semantics, similar to faithful translation but more flexible to language style and idioms in the target language. The second is target language. This method pays more attention to conform, fluency, and then habit in the target language. The first is adaptation. This means that used in the translation of drama or poetry, the content is adapted to the cultural context of the target language. And then the second is free translation, more free, focus on overall effect or meaning rather than the original form of word. The third is idiomatic translation, using idioms and natural expression in the target language, given its meaning differing from the original text. And the last is communication translation, aims to convey the meaning of the original text in such a way that it can be clearly understood by the target language reader. Alright everyone, that's all explanation about translation. I hope you understand what I mean. So thank you for watching this video and see you everyone.